All right. Looks like Amazon's got a new jam for everybody. You're going to be able to scan with your palm. You want to go into the grocery store, you can run your palm over this thing, and it's going to let you know if you can go shop or not. Any rate, I am Alfonzo Rachel, or better known as Zoe, sitting in for Scott Ott. I'm here with Steve Green, Bill Waddle. Bill Waddle. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. Bill Whittle. They can edit that out, right? Anyway. So this is our episode of, what is it, The Right Angle? Yes. Thank you guys so much for having me on, and thank you guys for being here. So yeah, I'm looking at this thing with Amazon. And so now for me, this has a lot of implications. And you know, one of the things that'll come up, and I see these things come up, is that people will talk about this. Well, this is the mark of the beast, and this is the mark of the beast. Well, no, it's not particularly the mark of the beast, but it is one of the things that gets you closer to it. My thing is, if it looks like it, if it smells like it, you might want to stay away from it. It's one of those things where, you know, it's the things that people don't believe that helps to bring these things to pass. And how it's being sold on people, the safety, the convenience of it, right? We're looking at the convenience of it.
That's the word.
Controlling people under the guise of convenience, controlling people under the guise of safety. So what are the implications of these things? We're looking at, the ability to be able to make purchases, the ability to be able to make business, to do business. The word will tell you that when you take this mark, you will not be able to buy or sell. A quick story. It was a scary thing to me because we saw this thing. It's creeping closer to our hands, right? We see this chip now that's in our credit card. And I went to the bank teller because I had to get another card. He said, yeah, you have to implement this chip on your credit card. And so as I'm getting a credit card, I'm looking at this guy tell me, yeah, if you don't get this chip on your credit card, yeah, you're not going to be able to make transactions. You're not going to be able to buy stuff. And I'm like, you don't know what it is that you just said, do you? It's like, no, you have no clue of what it is that you just said. We're being maneuvered into a situation where this thing is getting closer to our flesh, where you will not be able to buy or sell things. People are going to be put into a position, already people are put into a position where they're not going to be able to have a job. There's, the things that are now, if you don't have this credential, these things that are going to be shown in your flesh. So as it is right now, we're looking at, a person is we look at these different occupations where people are being replaced by robots. It's like a person at McDonald's, you're being replaced by a robot. And now we're getting to where, palm readers are even being replaced by robots. Tarot readers are being replaced by robots. It's like now, but what's going to happen here? You go to scan, this thing is going to read your palm, and tell you your fortune. Oh, you didn't get the vaccine. Well, I see something in your future and it ain't shopping here. Bye. Get out of my store. Or you didn't wash your hands. You didn't spend 20 seconds washing your hands. According to our data, you were digging in your nose about 3 minutes ago. So all that sort of stuff is like coming down the pipe. And I'm just wondering, and it's not, well, I don't wonder about it. I wonder if people are really going to be surprised by these things, about how much control they're giving over to people under the guise of convenience, until this whole thing has really become a beast that you will have to answer to.
Yeah.
And if I could throw this to one of the beasts in the field, one of the beasts on the brain beast, if I may.
We didn't want to interrupt you.
Right?
No,
I'm still trying to get the hang of things here.
that was a sermon. That was beautiful. So
okay,
who's going first?
All right, Steve. I hate to come off preaching. I don't try to make sermons or anything. I'm just making an observation.
It's important to be passionate about things. We're all that way,
right?
Let me tell you where I draw the line personally. Maybe we can hash out some sense for that. Okay, so I've got an iPhone. I like it. I've been getting them since the first one. And I never had a passcode on my phone until they started doing the Touch ID thing, where I could just hold the button and it would read my fingerprint and unlock the phone. And I like the Face ID even better because as soon as you pick up the phone, it recognizes your face with a series of the 3D dots that it builds a mathematical model of your skull, basically, to identify you. And not only is it less prone to a false positive to unlock your phone for somebody who just looks like you, but it's also easier. You hold up the phone and it's unlocked. It's like it was never locked to begin with. And I love that. But the only reason I trust it is everything happens on the phone. There's this thing on the CPU called a secure enclave. It's encrypted. That's the only place where your fingerprint data goes. It's the only place where your face data goes. And okay, I'm fine with that. I can live with that. What scares the hell out of me is when your data isn't on your phone, it isn't on your computer, it's in the cloud. Well, the cloud is just a fancy way of saying somebody else's computer, somebody else's network. That's all that means. And as we've seen with Facebook, as we've seen with Google, as we've seen with Twitter, once they know who you are and what you do, they can shut you up. And that is where I draw the line. I'm not going to scan my palm to buy groceries any more than I'm going to unlock a phone with my face where my face data is captured in the cloud instead of on my phone. So I know where I draw the line. What I don't know is this generation coming after me. I'm Gen X. This generation after me who are so much more used to this networked convenience, what they'll put up with.
I can dig it, man. It's like, yeah, you got to know where to draw the line somewhere. It's like, it seems that with all this technology, it seems to be where it's making things more convenient, but it's making us more efficient with being able to screw things up or easier access to screw us over under the guise of convenience. It's just that they've unlocked this pathway to us. So, I mean, for you, Bill, I mean, where do you draw the line on that? It's like, what is the implications of these things to you in terms of the access? Really, what is it? Is it that they're helping us to have more access, or are they setting us up for them to have more access to us?
Well, I'd like to start by saying that the structure of Steve Green's face is the intellectual property of BillWhittle.com LLC. And I didn't want you to get any misunderstandings about that.
I'm going to start writing checks to you. I don't like this.
The first thought I had, Zoe, when you were talking about this is when people were talking about marking you so that you individually were no longer separable from what you buy or where you went or what you did. The first thing we heard was maybe it would be like a barcode tattoo. And then people were talking about, well, maybe it'll be like a little microchip thing that they put in like pets to identify lost pets and so on. When you say they're going to scan your palm, I realize they don't need to add anything to you at all. They can identify you just as easily as they could with a chip or a tattoo just by your biometrics. There's no question about that now. So it's not even a question of I'm no longer going to accept this. I'm not going to accept the tattoo. I'm not going to accept it. Doesn't matter anymore. You've got a palm, you've got a facial structure that's unique to you, and they can biometrically identify you. So the question then becomes, why is this bad? What it does is it divorces you from your activities. You and your activities, where you go, what you buy, what you eat, what kind of movies you see, are no longer independent of you. They're connected. And so the best possible spin you can put on this is that from an advertising and sales point of view, people will know what you have bought already and will put those things in front of you so that you'll buy more of them. That's the most benign possible interpretation of this kind of stuff. But the real danger is, as you pointed out, if it turns out that you can no longer separate who you are from what you buy, then somebody can make a decision not to sell you groceries, or they can make a decision not to sell you health care, or they can make a decision not to let you rent that house, or they can make a decision on whether or not you get that job, and on and on and on and on and on it goes. It's like everybody now carries around an invisible, eternal, permanent record. And this is precisely what these tech giants call it. They call it your personal ledger. You are nothing to them but a series of mouse clicks and decisions that are useful for determining what large groups of people will do. If we continue to put up with this, we will get it. And I suspect we probably will continue to put up with it. As I've said a few times before, when 1984 came out, and even when the movie 1984 came out, with John Hurt, the big reveal, the terrifying reveal, is when they realized this Winston Smith and this couple, this illicit couple, realize that the television set has a camera in it. My God, we've been watched the whole time. That is the earth-shaking reveal. Well, I remember thinking, there's no way I'm going to let somebody put a television in a camera in my television. And now I look around my house and I realize, no, I've brought the cameras in. I've brought 5 or 6 cameras into the house right now, which are transmitting out there. And I did it because they made it look cool. I'll just close by saying this. There are many times when I wonder if all of this stuff is really genuinely the kind of paranoia that all old people feel about younger generations. Those flinty Israelite soldiers that were marching around in circles around Jericho, basically, you guys with your horns, we used to use brass axes. So on one hand, it's possible that all of these concerns of ours really won't amount to anything, that it will just be a more convenient future and that we can all be beta males and live happily ever after in our endless field of clover. But I somehow don't believe that to be the case. I look at history and I see how history goes. And so I'm concerned about this, very concerned. And the reason I'm against government health care is I don't want somebody saying, I don't like the way you vote or the way you think or the way you talk, so I'm going to make sure that you die. And that's really what it comes down to in the end.
Indeed, man, because all these things will be tied into it. If they're going to be able to scan your hand and you want to go get a checkup and stuff like that, the doctor's going to say, well, I actually know it. It's like, you can sit here and tell me that you don't eat this and you don't drink that and so on and so forth, but I'm looking at your hand scan and I know exactly what you eat and what you drink and all that sort of stuff. And I can make a determination on how it is I'm going to be able to treat you. So we saw this years ago. With my wife and I, determinations on, how they would, if you didn't get that season's flu shot or anything like that, and we're not trying to come off as anti-vaxxers or anything like that. My wife has gotten her past vaccines, shots for the seasonal flu and whatnot. But the doctors would say, it's like, if you hadn't got this, it's going to affect on how you would be treated. So, all these things are all tied together. And once again, whether a person, these things that'll come to pass as the apocalypse happens or revelation happens, it's not because of necessarily what people believe that will bring it to pass. It's what people don't believe that gives these things power, that are more and more inching us toward these things that are going to come to pass. And when you give the cronies of the state and cronies are basically one and the same, you give them these powers to do these things, that palm read, having your palm scan and stuff like that is going to turn into the thing where it's like, what, now that you've done these things, won't you go ahead and take that palm of yours and slap yourself with it? Because you've just you've basically given us full power over you. Thank you guys so much. I'm Alfonzo Rachel for Steve Green and Bill Whittle. This has been The Right Angle. Filling in for Scott Ott.